Hey everybody, Kelley Engineer here, and welcome to Kelley Construction, Part 1 on the Triskelion build. I am in Modpack Journey Across the Void version 16.8. In this version, I'm only going to work on making the first floor of the Triskelion, mainly because I have a lot of things that I need to cut out. So I have two circles here. This one is, this outer circle is, what is it, a diameter of 163, and the inner circle is a diameter of 141. So yeah, I have my work cut out for me here. Basically, at the end goal of this build is I want the center spawn platform of this mod pack completely intact. I don't want to mess with it whatsoever, and I want to, yeah, I just want to keep it for the entire pack. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get to it. So the Triskelion is a very weird shape. In order to construct the three towers on the corners, and forgive my use of the word corners, I'm aware that I'm building this on a circle. But yeah, in order to facilitate that, I need to build a very large hexagon on the outside. The way that these towers are constructed actually have the curved outside, but then on the inside below the very massive platform on top, the towers aren't curved in there. They're actually straight lines. And I tried building a hexagon on the inside, but the towers would have ended up being too small, so I have a hexagon on the outside now. In order to figure out how I needed to build this hexagon, I knew that I needed 60-degree angles, mainly because it's a perfect hexagon, therefore 60 and 120-degree angles are the way to go. In order to do that, what I did was I actually stood on this corner, hit F3, and then here we go, and 120. So now that I am facing east towards positive x, minus 120, all I did was just move all the way down until I got to the very end of the outer circle, and I know that I am sitting at 120. So 120 is right here. I knew that I had to build out to each of the corners where the hexagon were going to be. So I constructed a block here and then looked towards 150. So 150 and then 30, because I know that I'm going to need 180 degrees, so something needs to add up there in order to construct this hexagon. So 180 is how it's always going to be. I just started constructing all the way down until I got to about here using a 60-degree angle. So a 60-degree angle in Minecraft starts with one block and then 2, 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 2, 1. And I just kept building until I got to about here where I was perpendicular with this right here. So this is my center block on the outside portion of the circle. And then when I was building this way using the same pattern, I waited until I was parallel with the outer circle here and then started building in. As a fun aside, the halfway point of this line right here is actually it's exactly half of how much space I would need going from the center point of the island all the way out to this point. So I'm literally constructing a parallelogram right now in order to make sure that all of these angles work. But yeah, that is how I'm building the hexagon, and I'm going to complete as much of it as I can. I'm aware that this that this platform it's a little too close, but we'll make it work, and I'm going to get the basic outline of the towers completed before I come back to you next. So here are my 3 footprints for the tower, and I am very happy with them. In order to make this top one, it was super easy. It's just 90-degree angles, but it was a little bit trickier to make these ones on the sides because I'm not using a straight line. I'm still using my 60-degree angle, my 2, 2, 2, 1, but as you can see down here, it looks a little bit wonky because I had to figure out where to properly connect them. In any case, how I calculated all of this out was I used the hexagon that I made earlier. At the end portion of this hexagon, right here, I hit F3 again and calculated out where 120 was, and then continued to build until I hit my inner circle. Once I had my inner circle, I knew my starting point, but figuring out where my end point was on the other end was a little bit trickier. But once again, I knew that this was a parallelogram, so I just had to make it parallel with this line of my hexagon. So what I did was I built out the hexagon, or built out this line, until I reached the point where my 120 degrees were. So right where that megatorch is right now. And once I knew the typical design of it, I just had to replicate the design. So over here is 2, over there is 2, and then I just replicated this line all the way down until I connected to the far end. So like I said, I'm very happy with the design, and I replicated it over here as well. This was a little bit easier to do since I started there. Once I had this constructed, over here at the where the megatorch is, I just built a completely straight line over to the other end and then mirrored it. So yeah, this was didn't require nearly as much work, but I am happy with the result. Some of the extra things that I have put down on here is I've actually built out the wall of the other part of the building portion of the Triskelion, and I have 4 lines right here that are going to represent this. This is the taller part of the tower, and this is going to be a smaller part, and then over here is like a glassed-in area. So it's just something I'm going to have to... They're just guidelines for later portions of the build. I can actually get rid of these lines right here on the outer... There we go. Alright, yeah, I can get rid of the outer portions of those, but this one down here... Oh, hang on. That's right. Alright, the one on the south side. So the one on the south side, I actually am going to keep, because I still need to use it as a guideline. If you look at the drawings for here, or for the Triskelion, and I say drawings, but they're screenshots. I gotta remember to call them screenshots. But I actually keep the inner circle for everything. The inner circle remains if it's not part of the flat surface on each of the 3 towers. However, on the south side of it, the outer circle kind of exists, just a little bit in. I'm not sure exactly how big it is, but I'm actually going to try out a bunch of circles, and I think I'm going to start out with a diameter of 152, just to see how that works. But basically, the smaller portion of the circle is going to connect, yeah, maybe right about here, and go all the way around, and there's going to be like a drive-in portion right here. So yeah, it's just something that I'm going to have to think about, but I'm going to clean all of this up when I make the next cut. I'm going to clean all of this up and get started on the next portion. The next portion I'm working on is actually this inner tower. The inner tower is a little tricky because there are no good shots with what this inner tower actually looks like. In Ant-Man, there is a flashback scene from 1989, and that's probably the best I'm going to have for what the actual inside of the tower looks like. I think that this is the correct diameter that I have to work with. Looking at one of the drawings, and I'm going to try to replicate that right now. I'm on the south side right here. So there's not very much space in between where the Triskelion tower happens and the inside tower ends as well. So it looks like it's about the right distance, and I think I calculated it out properly. But as I start building the tower up, the difference is going to really become apparent, and I can tweak it from there. So this is merely a guideline. I really shouldn't have placed this dirt, but whatever, just problems for later. I am making a lot of dirt right now because I kind of wanted a little garden, despite the fact that it's going to be completely dark. I want to make like a little park area. The little park area is by no means part of the Triskelion. It's just a little flair I wanted to add. So yeah, that's just something that I have to think for the future. So I'm very, very happy with how this is turning out so far. I am a little stuck right now actually assembling how the floors are going to be, because I have no idea how many floors this has. I'm assuming 60 based off a precursory count of what pictures I do have of this. But I also get into the fact that you can see sections in all of the photos, and each section appears to represent 2 floors, unless you get to the outside of these portions. So one section is actually 1 floor on the outside, but on the inside, one section is actually 2 floors. So I already know I'm going to have to create some sort of hallway on the inside of this if I'm going to have a faithful recreation. When it comes to these portions right here, I have no idea whether or not each tower is connected to the wings that I'm going to be having facing forward. So I've still left my cobblestone in here, just in case I still have to separate it. And I've also made some concrete to try to mark out those floors. All the concrete's over here. So I have the light gray concrete and I have white concrete. I've also been making porcelain blocks. So white porcelain is what I want to make the outside walls for. I may need to revisit that because porcelain is it's time consuming to make because I need 1 piece of clay and 1 piece of bone meal. I don't have easy access to bone meal in the actual Journey Across the Void series. But I do think porcelain, the white porcelain, is the proper color that I want to go for because white concrete is too bright, as is nether quartz. This is like the perfect shade. It's not light gray, and it's not completely white. It's somewhere in the middle. So white porcelain works. I just need to find some other block that fills that void. But anyway, the main thing that I need to worry about right now is actually finding a way to set in the floor. And yeah, the floor is going to be on top of this smooth stone. And whether or not I want to remove this cobblestone and actually have it be one flowing portion into the wings. And yeah, it's something that I am going to have to work on. I also need to figure out how high I want to make the floors of the Triskelion. So but the player character is a little shorter than 2 blocks. So I'm thinking 3 blocks high is enough for the floor with a 1 block buffer in between each floor so I can run cables through if I need to. Yeah, so I'm going to work that out and I'll be back with you after I figured out something I actually like. Well, I just did another count of all of the floors and I was wrong. It appears to be 3 floors per section and there are a total of 48 floors that I have to build up. It doesn't change the fact that I still need to measure everything out so that each floor is 3 blocks high with 1 in the buffer, and yeah, it's still quite a bit of work to do. I also didn't explain what this section is for, so these wings actually extend out quite a bit farther, but I stopped it here because the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge is supposed to be, well, in the real world, the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge is actually going through this portion, and I'm going to have to construct that at some point. I just wanted to figure out how wide it needed to be and how much of a gap I need to leave between the wings. Because I think the floor ends right about here, and then there's like a little bridge portion on the, let's see, what is that, the 6th or 7th floor? That goes all the way over where the bridge starts, and then the rest of the wing continues. So, yeah, just more planning, but I left that gap here so I can actually start building out the Theodore Roosevelt Bridge, and I'm going to be doing that in another episode. So I think I found a decent block to actually build this out of. The Colored Block Crafter. Right here from the Flat Colored Blocks mod, and super simple to make. It's just an iron ingot surrounded by a red, green, cyan, and purple dye. But so long as you have cobblestone and a certain dye inside your inventory, then blocks become available, and they're all different shades of the same. So these are silver blocks, and these 3 silver blocks only become available if light gray dye is in my inventory. So I'm going to use this 1286, this silver block, for everything. Here we go. And as you can see, I've already built it up a little bit just to see how the color gradient works. To separate each section, I'm actually going to be using 1285, another silver block, and I do like the look of it. I'm debating whether or not to actually have the floors be 4 high, and then have the section that's 1285. I'm not sure yet, but I do like the contrast that it makes, and it actually does, because the flat colored blocks are indeed that. They are flat, vice the porcelain I was going to use, which has this nice texture on it. I need something in there to make it not look so plain, so flat. Also, I decided that since I wasn't going to be using porcelain for the walls, I'm going to be using porcelain for the floors, light gray porcelain, and I do like the look of it. Once again, looking at the Winter Soldier movie, this light gray porcelain actually does seem to be the correct color for the flooring, at least for the first floor. And so yeah, I'm definitely happy with using that. Also in episode 9 of Journey Across the Void, I made this little setup right here, which is getting me plenty of porcelain. I already have 4.3 4.3K, and yeah, this is working a treat for me. So porcelain isn't really going to be a problem for me in the future. So I'm going to keep building this up and trying things out on how the floors are actually going to work. And I'll be back with you once I find something I like. So if you'll allow me a brief aside, I want to go over a couple things. So at this picture right here, you can see that I am calling one section roughly from this dark line right here to this dark line. I'm aware that there are two sections in here, and I'll of course zoom in for you. But yeah, one section is from this dark line to this dark line, as far as I'm concerned. And looking at this drawing right here, this picture, if I zoom in, you'll see that one section is roughly 2 floors based on this construction right here. And then when you get to this photo right here, up here at the glassed area, so these 3 window sections are actually 1 floor. And this is entirely based on the Falcon and Strike fight that happened right before the helicarrier crashed in right here in the movie. So yeah, right here, these 3 windows are 1 floor, and these 3 are 1 floor. So I think I'm going to treat each section as 2 floors on the outside until I get to this glassed part. But on the inside, however, and it's a better angle right here, if you count all of these windows, it'll total up to 48 floors. Well, 48 floors all the way to the top. If you subtract these 2 sections right here, then it's just 42. But yeah, it's a total of 48 floors on the inside, 42 leading up to the disc that's on the top. So yeah, this is the weird planning stuff I have to worry about, because I am saying that one section is 2 floors here on the outside, which allows me to build up 4 high in world. And yeah, these are the drawings that I have to work with. I have a couple more, but they don't really offer me any more resolution on how this is going to go. Oh, and this is what I was talking about with the helicarrier flying in. But yeah, I'm not really sure where the separation happens either. This section right here could be the outside section where there's 42 floors, and then right where this window happens, and this is these are the elevators, and then right where this section happens is actually where the 2 floors start. Oh yeah, actually you can see where the floors start right here. Alright, that helps out a little bit. I didn't notice that before. Now the reason I bring that up is because I have portions of the floor completed, and I am using 1285 to show that this is the start of a new floor. And then I'm going to use a darker block, probably 1284? Yeah, I'm probably going to use 1284 right here to show that it is a new section of the tower. And yeah, I'm going to have the 3 floors right here, and then this is going to be the separation of the 3 floor parts and the 2 floor parts, and somewhere in the center I'm going to have that 1285. So yeah, the 1285s are to separate different floors, and then the 1284, which I'm going to put in here, is going to be showing that it's a new section. So I am putting in the 1284 blocks on the first part of the first section, which is almost complete. I'm using this gentle exchange scepter. That's from Cyclic. They're pretty easy to make, just emeralds, iron, and a piece of obsidian. And how they work is, it's pretty handy, but sometimes it can be a little frustrating. So what this is going to do is it's going to replace whatever block you're pointing at using whatever block is most forward in your inventory. So right now it's using the 1284 blocks, but and I'm replacing 1286 blocks. But if I had a 1286 block right here, it wouldn't replace it, because it's not seeing it's seeing the same exact block in that location. So just you have to rearrange your inventory so that whatever block you want to replace is actually right there. But that being said, it's going pretty quickly. All I have to do is configure it and by left clicking, and when you left click, it just changes what type of mode you're in. The blue wand actually replaces air. So if I right clicked right now, I would put some blocks right here. Of course I don't want that, which is why I'm using the gentle scepter. The gentle scepter is not capable of replacing air blocks. So I already have a whole slew of them in a crafting table right now because they do have durability, and I run through them pretty quickly, of course, putting in all of the putting in all of the 1286 blocks and then replacing each floor with the 1285s, but it is working for me, and that is how I'm going through and putting in all of these blocks so quickly. And there we are. The 1284 block is now in. And now that that's in, I'm kind of not liking the fact that the 1285s are here. As I build more floors on this, we'll see how it goes. But I may just remove the 1285s and only have the 1284 and 1286 as part of this build, just to separate the sections and the walls. So over here, on the backside, is a preview of what that looks like. And yeah, it is a much cleaner look. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with in the future. And once again, I'll see once I build some more floors. And now that this is complete, I was looking over the pictures again, the screenshots again, and I realized I messed up. So the 42 floors I was talking about, the 42 visible floors in all screenshots, actually start with the second section. So this first section is actually completely covered, and I'm not sure whether or not I want to do that. I think I'm going to deviate from the actual plans and the actual screenshots, and I'm going to assume that the first section doesn't exist, and we're going to start with the second section. So yeah, the section that I just built is the second section, and mainly because I don't want to fill in all of this and then cover it up. I think it's going to look weird. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about that, but I will be deviating from what the Triskelion looks like on its own, mainly by removing that first section so I don't have to cover all of this up. So I just got done putting in the floors on this wing, and I am very happy with the result. And as you can see walking along it, it actually is a pretty good height. Now when we get to this portion over here, the 2-floor portion, you'll see that there is of course a little gap that I have to worry about. Well, in the screenshots, it actually is true to the structure itself that there are stairs going up from the 2-floor portions into the 3-floor portions. So I could definitely make that work, and I don't really have to worry about it. For now, it's a little jarring, but I am going to, this is definitely the design I'm going to go for. I am very, very happy with it. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to build up this entire wing, all 42 floors of it, just to make sure that I have all of the dimensions correct. It's going to be my last thing before I actually build the entire, all of the tower portions of the Triskelion. And then in the next episodes, I'll worry about putting in the highway and putting in the wing sides of the buildings. But yeah, I'm going to finish out one wing of the tower for this episode, and I'll be back with you once that is done. One problem I am having, however, is the fact that gray dye is... I really need to set up a farm in one of the Journey Across the Void episodes. Probably actually additions. But yeah, all of the gray dye is... It's my bottleneck right now, because it takes 1 stack of gray dye, 1 stack of cobblestone in order to make me the flat blocks, whereas 1 stack of gray dye will get me 8 stacks of the porcelain. But yeah, I have to come back here, I don't know, every hour or so, collect up all of the necessary dye, and then over here, I apologize if there's any stuttering. I'm experiencing some stutters on the capture whenever I'm in this area, which of course I am. Look how many cables I have. Yeah, I have to go over to this crafter and throw in all of the petals to get the gray dye, and it goes into this metal crate. So yeah, every hour or so I have to restock it, and then I go through all of these stacks of 1286 way too quickly, so I'm coming back here probably every 5 minutes just to make more of the blocks. That's honestly why it's taking so long. But yeah, I am going to continue building this up. I'll be back with you shortly. And this is why it is good to build one section before building all sections, because this is wrong. Looking at my screenshots, this angle, yeah, just about this angle, the floors are perfectly fine, but then this outer hump should actually be sticking out a little bit more. So I have the outer circle wrong, which thankfully that does happen to be the problem, because making another circle and then editing all of these angles to be the 60-degree angles they're supposed to be is no problem whatsoever. But yeah, with tall structures like this, it's very hard to see the imperfections when it's just like this, because only having one section complete, this looks fine. It looks perfectly fine. It looks perfectly normal. But then as I get taller, this tower starts looking thinner, and the imperfection of not having a wide enough outer circle and thus not a wide enough outer wall right here, becomes truly apparent. So I have a little bit of rework to do, which is unfortunate because all of these silver blocks are just murder to create. But yeah, I am happy that that is the problem rather than, having a problem with the height of the floors. I believe I'm at, what am I, Y level 220 something when I'm all the way at the top, and that's another problem. I may need to actually make these floors 2 high instead of 3 high, because I think I'm going to hit world limit before I actually manage to complete this. Yeah, I'm at 235. I'm definitely going to hit world limit before this is done. So that's a little bit more inconvenient rework, but it's rework nonetheless, and I may as well just bite that bullet. And there we go. That is much better. So I expanded the diameter of my outside circle. It used to be 163. Now it is 169. And yeah, it works out perfectly. The only problem I'm really seeing now is the fact that this inner circle seems to be a little bit too wide, but shrinking that in is even less of a task than making the outside circle a little bit bigger. But I have extended out the back side of the wall, and I made myself another dank null to handle all of these blocks, and it's working a treat. So yeah, all I do is I put whatever block I want inside the dank null, boom, and so yeah, in the 1286s, I had to since I have 1286s in here, whenever I replace a 1286 with a 1284, it'll go right into the dank null. It'll save me inventory space, and I can actually make more blocks at once and have it fill my inventory. And it's less trips to the crafting station to craft more flat blocks. But yeah, it's working a treat. Now that I am happy with how this looks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up the rest of the towers. I'm not going to worry about the floors on the inside just yet, mainly because I'm going to need to make more lamps, and I have a mob problem to begin with. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about the floors, but at the very least the towers are going to be built all the way up, and then I'm going to close out this episode. So I'm coming back with a quick update because it has been a while since I've hit the record button. But what I did to solve my build height problem was I actually filled in the last remaining floors that I had over here. So this is going to be sections 15 and 16, and sections 2 and 3 are actually at Y level 42 now. So I had to build down in order to facilitate the build height. I still need to shrink this circle a little bit, but for now I am... Oof. This is quite the undertaking. I had to build a flux spore, upgrade it to resonant in order to facilitate carving out every single one of these floors. The pickaxe that I have right here is just too slow, so I tried making a cobalt pickaxe and it was much faster, but still too slow to what I needed it for. So I have the flux spore. I have it in tunnel mode, which is 1x2, and even though it is still slower than my pickaxe, being able to do 2 blocks at once is definitely a boon to me. So yeah, what I'm going to do next, now that I have all of the floors carved out, is I'm actually going to build up the wall in here. So this curve right here made out of 1284. It shouldn't be made out of 1284. This should be white porcelain, but when I redid the dimensions, I cut it out a little bit. Yeah, white porcelain's supposed to be the wall. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to build up all of the walls and then try to put all of the floors in, which is even more of an undertaking. Luckily, I have more than enough porcelain at this point. I think almost around 30,000 of it. So yeah, this 30,000 should help me at least get half of those floors done. And yeah, I'll come back with you once I've just run out of porcelain and I'm ready to close out the episode. And here we are. I have finished marking out all of the sections. And yeah, all of this work it's pretty much complete. All I have to do is I have to wait for enough porcelain to generate so I can actually put in all of the floors, but I'm going to do that in between episodes. I've also cleared out this section in preparation for putting the disc in the next episode, and putting in the disc is not as simple as just creating a cylinder. There are various shapes on that cylinder that need to be formed as well, and I'm not using little bits or chisels and bits or little tiles and chisels and bits in this pack, so yeah, that's going to be a challenge all on its own. But anyway, yeah, I'm ready to close out this episode. But I hope I managed to teach something in this episode. Since I had to eyeball this entire structure, I knew that I had to use a hexagon because I have 3 towers, and I have 3 gaps in between those towers, and they're supposed to be equal gaps, therefore hexagon made sense. And I knew that since I was using a hexagon, then I was going to be limited to 60 and 120 degree angles. Just like if I was using a pentagon, I would have been limited to 108 degree angles, or an octagon is 135 degree angles, so on and so forth. The shape that I used informed the angles I had to use in order to build it, and that's true of any artwork that you do, whether it's painting, sketching, or building something in Minecraft. But yeah, I am Kelley Engineering, and in the next episode we are going to construct that disc up there at the top and also fill in the wings that I tore down earlier. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.